Mercedes has been facing many issues in the first couple days of preseason testing in Bahrain. Lack of performance, reliability, and even construction issues all make that Mercedes has a lot of room to improve prior to the start of the 2023 season. However, unlike in 2022, the car seems to experience no porpoising, which is a big step forward compared to how they started last year. However, whereas Mercedes experiences no porpoising issues this time, Russell's problems on the second day of testing indicates that the problems are still far from over. So far, pre-testing has shown a variety of issues for the W14, ranging from performance issues to reliability issues. Where Mercedes was the all-time star in reliability in 2022, Russell's hydraulic failure is a major reason for concern with just a week to go before the first race starts. There is even less reason for optimism after George Russell said, "Red Bull looks really good. I think it is too optimistic to think that we can already beat them in the next race. But we will see what the future brings. There is no reason that we can't get to their level in the future." However, it is not all doom and gloom when Toto Wolff spoke interestingly regarding the hidden pace of the W14, which is something that will be covered in our video as well. But with everything that we have seen so far, both Mercedes fans and experts wonder what the true status is of the W14. So, is Mercedes really in huge trouble for 2023? Or can they fight with Red Bull and Ferrari? And what is Wolff's controversial statement regarding the preseason testing about? All of these and much more are covered in our video, so let's begin. Many fans and experts were most interested to see whether Mercedes would really keep their no side pod concept, or whether they would go for the conventional route that Ferrari and Red Bull took. After 2 days, we can conclude that Mercedes still has a 100% belief in their own concept, and even seem to fully have porpoising under control, which hindered them during especially the first half of the 2022 season. However, the Silver Arrows, a team that was expected to perform well in pre-testing due to a strong season ending in 2022 and with all announced updates incoming, have disappointed their fans by failing to deliver a good performance. Although it is still early in the season, both Russell and Hamilton told the media that fans don't have to expect race wins within the first couple races. However, what can be somewhat reassuring is that we have seen that Mercedes is capable of rapidly improving their car. So while the first day in Bahrain went smoothly for Mercedes, it became evident to the Mercedes team that the pace is currently not there to fight with Ferrari or Red Bull. Or are they? After the first day of testing, Hamilton said the following, "I feel much more confident with the car in the low-speed corners than I was last year." This became evident by data which showed that Hamilton got on the brakes the latest, but still was one of the first to hit the throttle. Hitting the brakes hard helps getting heat in the front tires and helps with the front rotation. But although the corner speed of the Mercedes seemed promising, last year's Achilles heel played up again. The main straight speed was clearly in favor of Ferrari and Red Bull, with Sainz and Verstappen posting maximum speeds of 325 and 320 kilometers an hour respectively, while Hamilton only managed to hit 314 kilometers an hour. Many thought that the Brit had deliberately held off on performance and pace, which is something that has been hinted at by Wolff as well. But as people wonder whether Mercedes deliberately sandbagged everyone, there are also rumors that Red Bull and Ferrari haven't shown their true performance as well. If we look at the data of the first and second day, we can see that Red Bull and Ferrari are pulling in more laps compared to Mercedes. On the first day, George Russell and Lewis Hamilton completed a total of 152 laps, whereas Verstappen on his own completed 157 laps. However, the hydraulic issues prevented Mercedes from getting in any laps in the last quarter of the second testing day. But besides the reliability issues, Mercedes was 7/10 of the best time of Red Bull on day 1 and over 2 seconds on day 2. So with these big performance gaps, what did Toto Wolff have to say? According to Wolff, Red Bull and Ferrari look quick, but we are holding off on performance, so we are not all too worried. It is very difficult to judge at this stage. Everybody's playing around with fuel loads, and it is a little bit of hiding on engine modes, so you can't really judge. We are still hiding a little bit. The car was out of balance this morning. You can see we're leaving black marks on acceleration. It's hot, and we didn't find the right setup in these conditions, which is part of the learning with this car. It's not the driver who is overdriving the car. The car isn't giving us enough grip from the rear. Before the 2022 season, we saw Mercedes frequently sandbagging the rest of the field. If the 2022 season hadn't unfolded as it did, we would have claimed all of these new statements from Wolff as sandbagging ones. But with the recent hydraulic failure on the engine on Russell's car, we can slowly start to conclude that Mercedes is far from sandbagging. But what really happened with Russell's car in the first place? When Russell downshifted, the car became stuck in fourth gear, which eventually led to the car slowing to a stop on the inside of the left-hand turn 10. Later on, Mercedes confirmed the hydraulics issue, which cost them important track time. However, Russell's problems weren't the only problems Mercedes experienced. The W14 of the 7-time world champion Hamilton also suffered from flying pieces underneath it. The issue had forced Hamilton to enter the pit stop and experience a disturbance on the testing day. Wolff has admitted to the public that the Silver Arrows are hiding some performance for the first race next week. But why would they hide some extra performance? The first race is in 1 week, which is not enough time for any other team to analyze, copy, and develop a similar design as that of a competitor. With the reduced wind tunnel times and testing hours on track, it is in every aspect of crucial essence that teams utilize every minute to test out new components. One of the reasons why Mercedes needed many months to fix their porpoising issues was because of the budget cap in compliance with reduced CFD and wind tunnel time. So is Mercedes really keeping performance behind? When being asked about the pace of Red Bull and Ferrari and whether he thinks that Mercedes can compete with these top teams, Wolff's response was, "Red Bull and Ferrari are fast, no surprise there. We need to wait for the 3 days to be over, and also when the soft tires come on." But it leaves the question, where does Mercedes lose time at the moment? If we look at the data from F1.com, we can see that although Mercedes is doing fine in the high-speed corners, they still miss out on the straights and in the low and medium-speed corners. Already on the straight, Mercedes loses 2 to 3 tenths to Ferrari and Red Bull. This might have to do with engine modes, but it can also indicate an underpowered or overly draggy car. One of the big reasons to develop a zero side pod concept is to reduce drag on the straight while improving the airflow over the car. And while Mercedes surprised everyone last year with their concepts, it is fair to point out that in 1 year, including the preseason testing of this year, no other team has tried to copy their concept. In fact, the most copied side pod concept is, not surprisingly, that of Red Bull. Red Bull is even bringing their concept to an even more extreme version by narrowing multiple sections of their side pod to reduce drag and improve airflow, which allows for greater downforce levels. The difference between Mercedes and Red Bull was also visible in the slow and medium speed corners. The slow and medium speed corners rely more on mechanical grip, which is the grip provided through the tires and suspension. Mercedes sliding in the slow and medium speed corners shows a car that provides a lower amount of grip than that of Red Bull and Ferrari. But besides the understeering problems, Mercedes also struggles with oversteering issues, as addressed by Wolff. Their car is still a bit shaky when exiting a corner, causing oversteer, resulting in a loss of lap time. So far, there is not much reason to be optimistic as a Mercedes fan based solely on what we have seen the last couple days. Yet, Mercedes has a proven track record, which is something that Russell also addressed. In an interview with Auto Fans, he said, "We definitely believe eventually we will have a car capable of getting into that fight. Whether we're going to have that next weekend in Bahrain, I think is maybe a bit of a stretch. They look very strong, very stable, and obviously Max is performing really well. But there is no reason why eventually we can't get there at some point this year, and we've always seen the strength of Mercedes and their development rates." With that being said, what do you think about Mercedes sandbagging early in the preseason? Do you think that they are going to storm the grid after deliberately admitting that they've been holding off on performance? Let us know in the comments below.